If you love movies, you are in the right place, and that place is the Chronicle, the official film podcast of the People's Movies. I am Paul, I'm the editor of the People's Movies, and usually we have Clotilda with us for the episodes, and this week we have a different writer from the People's Movies, and that is Becci Sayce. How are you, Becky?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I thought we're going to do a horror podcast. Clotilda, as you've probably heard in it, so it's not a big fan of horror. And I thought, what better yourself? So it's either going to be yourself or Bradley. Or the two will probably do the horrors. The two of you are just horror mad. I'm horror mad as well. So for this episode, which is episode 48, we are going to review two horror films that are now out in UK cinemas. That is Weapons and Bring Her Back. And for the first review of episode 48 of the Chronicle will be Zach Cregger's Weapons. Becky, would you like to tell us a little bit about it? What have you thought of it? And if you liked it or didn't like it?
Yes, so in Weapons, it starts with the premise of a 2:15 a.m., 2:17 a.m. on just any random night in a small town of Mayfield. 17 children get up out of their bed, walk out their front door, and disappear into the darkness, apart from two people. We've got the teacher, Justine, played by Julia Garner, and then young Alex Lilly. They're questioned, but then a month later, we still don't know why they walked out, who did this, what's behind this. And then the film's told from the perspective of six different people, including Josh Brolin's Archer, who is the father of a child at the school. And then we learn sort of what's going on, why they disappeared, and who was behind it all. For me, I really like this film. So I went to go and see it at a special screening in London. So it was like packed with people in the view. And I thought that was an incredible way to watch it because some people were very like audibly terrified of the jump scares, which I think are very, very good in this film. It's been a
Yeah.
long time since I've watched a horror film that the jump scares have really got me, but then actually had me scared for the next one. It didn't feel like it was just, oh, a bit of a loud noise. And then you're frightened for a little bit, but you can forget about it. There's been some imagery in this that has really stuck with me. So that was very good with it. I think how it was told, like as I said, it's told through the perspective of six different characters. I really liked that. I thought it was really interesting. But for me, with Weapons, I think it does lose steam a little bit. So like what did you think of how it was told?
Yeah, I actually went into it with not actually reading much about it, and I liked how, as you said, the structure, where we see from each of the characters, you see their perspective of it. When you see the characters, the perspective is completely different, for each one. I think when they start to reveal what is going on, yeah, you're right. I think it starts to lose a little bit of its appeal. I really no, I really liked how everything was actually done in this. The with the characters, where the characters were all completely different backgrounds.
Yeah.
From Julie Garner's teacher, for the little boy, as you said, Josh Brolin's character, the headmaster. Was it Benedict Wong in it?
Yeah.
And obviously from the, I forget the junkie's name, but the junkie junkie that brought some sort of dark humor into it for his side of things. And the cop, I kept saying, who's that cop, who's that cop? Somebody kept saying to me, it's Harrison Ford. And then I realised they meant the cop, Star Wars,
Yeah.
it is Aldrin Andorix or something.
I'm not too sure I'd say his last name. It's Alden something, yeah.
Yeah, Alden something. Yeah, yeah. I just liked that. I liked also the way you saw them all running.
Yeah.
What I'll say, ladies and gentlemen, apologies. Sometimes certain films we review, there might be an odd spoiler here and there. Take it with a pinch of salt, grain of salt. I just loved the way it reminded me of school. We used to run about like that, little kids. I'm not spoiling much here. In the trailer, you do see certain adults doing it as well. And very childlike, and that type of thing. You want to tell us a little bit more what you thought of the film, Becky, as well, and then I'll share my thoughts as well.
Yeah, you touched sort of on the humor with it. I really liked the blend of horror and humor in this. I thought from the trailer, I really didn't expect it. I didn't think this was going to be funny, and it sort of reminded me of the monkey a little bit. But I
Yeah,
found it funnier because where the monkey disappointed me a little bit, and I did again, I liked the monkey too. but I didn't think it was gory enough. I didn't think it was scary enough, and I didn't think it was funny enough. Whereas bits of this really did have me laughing out loud, and I thought that was good between the scares. I just thought, like I say, I think it loses steam in places. So it starts very strong, I think, with like Justine's perspective and Archer's perspective. But then when we get to Marcus, like the head teacher, and James, the junkie, I think it really slows down. And then when we have the reveal of sort of what's going on and where the children went and why they're doing what they're doing, I don't think it was as impactful as it could have been because it just didn't ratchet that tension up. So I
Yeah,
felt like by the end I was a little bit like, okay, this is what it is and that's okay. But I don't feel like it quite lived up to what I thought it was going to be, which I know might just be a me thing,
yeah,
but I think from what I thought it was going to be when it started to where it ended up, I was left a little bit cold by it. And I still enjoyed it for what it was. Like I thought it was good, it was scary, it was creepy. But I felt like it kind of started to explain what was going on, and then we never quite get there with exactly what it is. Like, yes, we know who did it, but it doesn't really explain why. And like the title comes into it, I don't want to get too spoilery
yeah.
with it. We don't really actually learn what the weapons are for and what's going on. And then we get like the like final scene of it, which is bonkers, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But I feel like if that tension had kept up all the way through, it would have been more exciting. So as much as I liked it, I felt like when I start picking at the plot more, it's a bit like a house of cards. It falls down a lot more. So like my rating has dropped over time. Maybe I'll enjoy it more if I watch it again, but it just felt like there's little bits of it that just don't link up. And it's a shame because this as well really reminded me, like the marketing especially, of Long Legs, which was so strong in how everything tied together. It felt like this didn't.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. When the big reveal comes out, it loses momentum. It reminds me at times of Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
but
sort of.
maybe that's where the dark humor comes into it and lot of things. It was a lots of horrors here that remind me of. There's a scene in it. I believe that you see his face in the trailer. The scene where Benedict Wong, his face is covered in blood, and his eyes were so big.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger on a bit in the science fiction film, and he's outside in Mars. And his eyes are about to explode. That sort of remind me of that type of thing. There was I didn't get to see a press screening up where I am. Okay, the FDA give us, Film Distributors Association as they're called, give us every couple of weeks press screenings. We don't always get the main movies. I missed this one, Weapons, because obviously I was working. I watched it in a public screening, and I watched it in one of the biggest screens in the Wilder Cine where I'm close to. And there was one woman in there, and she was getting irate in this film. She was saying, she shout, she actually started shouting, "This is not a horror.
God.
I, I'm not here to laugh," and then she just left. I sit at certain screens, and it's the same as you've probably been to many press screenings. Certain journalists and writers will sit in certain seats because it's the best way to get to and try and enjoy the movie that they're reviewing. And I always sit in one seat, and I could actually hear out the door are absolutely screaming. She's actually going around telling people, "Do not go in this movie." There was people were queuing up to go into this movie. This is a awful movie, And she starts quoting all these movies, do not go into this movie. Do not. This is terrible, And I
No.
think she's lost the whole point here. This is not a horror in the sense of, yeah, as you say, there is jump scares in it, but it's one that plays in your mind as well. A little bit
Yeah.
like the movie we're going to review next. It's got that in it. It makes you laugh. I think it's an open book in the sense of what am I watching? Make your own mind up as well. And when you start to learn a little bit, is it this? Is it that? There is a little clue, potentially what it is. Early on in the movie, there's something on certain
Mm.
thing. I think you understand what I'm saying. Something Julie Garner has.
I wish they'd not done that because I knew from when they did it, and
Yeah.
I wish they'd not done that.
Yeah, and that's a big clue. You start to learn, but I actually think it's also a movie about modern America.
Yeah.
Yeah, Julie Garner, she's a teacher, so it's about the education system where certain, depending on your political views, you might think the teachers are brainwashing these kids, but at the same time, everyone has their own dark secrets. I'm not hiding anything here. Julie Garner's character uh, was it Justine Candy, I think her name was?
Yeah, Justine Gander.
Gandhi, she loves a little drink. It sort of reveals that none of these characters in this film are perfect. They all have their own demons, they all have their little secrets. So there's that side of thing there as well. You go into the politics as well of the film, of modern America, especially in the opening scene. And it's in the trailer as well, where there's this parents' meeting where they're all wanting to try and discuss what's going on here. They're all demanding Justine tells them what is going on with the kids. They blame her right away. What's happening? What's happening? What's going on here? And they all want to destroy her as well. And then she's wanting the red tape as well. There's a bit of the red tape. She's wanting to speak to the little boy just to make sure, is he okay? Is everything all right? There as well. And then there's Benedict Wong's character. It reveals later on some about his gender, his sexuality, which has became a big thing in America. If your sexuality is a certain thing, uh, certain factions, groups in America are demanding justice is against you. So there's a lot of little things in there as well. So I think it's a message about America, America as it is. It's falling apart, and it's the system fall apart. That sort of thing. The humour, yeah, we say that's great. A paranoia, the sort of tinfoil hat is on there as well. There's a lot of things going in this film, so I think it sort of leaves it out there. There's one scene. I think that the film deliberately misguides you
Yeah.
with Josh Brolin's character. You get to he starts to see his little boy. There's one thing, as you said, also about 217. It actually a lot of these houses all have cameras. So you get to see that's how they get to know why it's 217. So at one point it looks like he's following his boy and he gets to this house and there's a big gun up there. So it's maybe delves into the sort of gun issue, of
Mm.
America. That's a potential. I won't say much more about that if that's sort of leading down there. As I said, you agreed yourself. It is a film. It's quite hard to talk more about because if you start talking about it, it's you start to spoil it. But I
Yeah.
think I think you should get into it with an open book. Just go and just enjoy it because that's what I did with Barbarian. I knew nothing about Barbarian, and it's an absolutely bonkers film as well. And as you know, they go down the steps, the steps of this house and the Barbarian, and it's just it's just another world down there. But at the same time, there's a lot of dark secrets going on about this house as well. So, shall we sort of round up your sort of final thoughts on the film and what sort of rating you give it? You want to go
Yeah,
first?
absolutely. So I think I would give this a 3 out of 5.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I think visually it's a stunning film. Editing's great. I love like how the narrative plays out, telling it through like the 6 different perspectives. And I really enjoyed the scares. I felt like they felt earned and they really got to me.
yeah,
For me, it sort of falters where I think, yeah, thematically there is quite a lot going on, but it feels like it never quite explores it enough. And I feel like it really sort of loses its steam towards the middle and I don't really like the reveal very much with it. Again, I'm not going to spoil it, but I
yeah,
didn't like what it was, and I didn't feel like we got enough explanation. So while I think it was like visually really good, I don't think Craig has quite got it down like the storytelling wise. I don't feel like there was enough detail or the pacing was quite right. I still think it was a good film, and I'm really glad to see it do well because for such a film that takes such bold swings, I really want people to go and see it so we get more films like this. Even
yeah.
though it didn't quite do it for me, I really want it to do it for other people. So, yeah, it was pretty middle of the road for me, but I did still enjoy it, and I would definitely say the same as you. Going blind, do not try and avoid spoilers because they are everywhere out there, and they were before the film was even out. So if you can go in as blind as possible, that is definitely how to experience it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit high. I think I enjoyed it. I think I got on board the sort of bonker side of it. I really liked it. I had a bit of a hard week at work as well, and it just let me just sat there and I'm just enjoying it right here. I'm sort of giving it. I'm more four out of five. It's yeah, gone blind. When the reveal does happen, there's something or someone comes into it, and this thing or person might make you laugh when you see who the person is or thing is. Julie Garner, I'm getting more respect for her. I mean, she's a scream. Would you call her a scream queen? Because she actually, when we meet her, her first films were horror. It was Eli, what do you call it? The Eli
I
Roth
would,
film.
yeah. I would. And I think her performance in this is phenomenal.
Yeah,
It's so good.
yeah, she is. She's really, really good, and I think she's starting to get better. She obviously, cause I think she was just a teen, was a young girl when she sort of came into the industry, and she's getting gradually getting more mature in her performances and that. Yeah, it's good. Once again, I liked the sort of seeing it from the six different people. It sort of leaves you that sort of option of are what we've seen is true? Is their version true? Is it as good as the editing as the way they showed it as Strange Darling, which has a sort of an editing style in it? You see it? Yes or no? I probably say no, but yeah, overall, total bonkers film. Just go into it with an open book. If you like the sort of craziness of the first film Krager did, you'll probably enjoy this. Just, I think horror is a type of genre. It doesn't need to actually at times have to explain itself. Just enjoy the ride. Hereditary is one of those films that sort of it's one of the ones just go and enjoy it, and it just you'll probably enjoy the horror a bit. You will have a laugh if you like the dark humour. You will see a lot in that as well. I mean, more and more new characters come into it. Yeah, you will enjoy it. And as I said, I give it 4 out of 5. So there you have it, folks. That is Weapons, and we give it 3 stars and 4 stars. And for the final review of episode 48 of the Chronicle is the Philippou brothers bringing her back. So Aussie brothers, I believe they're twins, Becky, Danny and
They-
Michael. I think you can say they know a thing or two about grief. Because obviously in 2022 they had their debut movie, feature movie, Talk to Me. And that sort of plugged into the sort of unbridled sort of grief thing, and the sort of demons get you trapped in, no, ease that sort of pain. What is obviously they became very famous. And I don't know if they still did. They still have their YouTube channel?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I used to watch it, but I dropped off quite a while ago, so I'm not too sure if they put new stuff out. I don't think so. I think it is all like filmmaking now.
Yeah, well, I think they're doing very well, and obviously the was it the Babadook? They worked in the Babadook, so then I think
Yeah.
that side of things is sort of taking over. So the latest one is Bring Her Back, and it's I think we can say it's very atmospheric, very disturbing. I would say it's probably a very triumphant follow-up, which taps into the sort of grief heartstrings again, and I think at times it might leave you lost for words. The brothers, they know a thing or two about the horror genre, and then I think they know about how they can stretch you beyond the sort of outer limits, what horror is and what it can do. I think this film, Becky, is it's not one that takes you into sort of classic monster route. It does deliver those scare moments you expect for the sort of monsters. It's the emotions that haunt us. And I think in this film, I don't know if you agree or disagree, grief itself is a monster and it conjures up many of those emotions to actually feed the beast. And it's a terrifying thing. It's these emotions are which feed the beast are very, very perfectly normal. We all do experience them in many times in our daily lives, and obviously in the wrong hands, it could be used against us. Maybe in memory, physical, and even social withdrawal as well. So, Bring Her Back stars Barrett and Sora Wong. They play brother and sister, Andy and Piper. Their father suddenly dies, and due to their ages, they both have to be put into, excuse me, care. And the first, they're going to split them up. Obviously, loss is very traumatic. It's been very traumatic to both of them. So Andy begs them not to split them up, and they do, and they agree. So they get into the hands of foster carer Laura, who's a former teacher, who's played by Sally Hawkins, who's a former teacher, but is also a counsellor. And Laura, she sort of also lost her own daughter, Kathy, and she quietly sort of soldiers on from that loss. So she start and she shares a roof with her foster son Oliver, who's played by Jonah Ren Phillips. Piper is visually impaired, and Kathy, Laura's daughter, is as well. But Andy, he sort of quickly starts to see things don't seem right. They're too good to be true. And Laura, she quickly bonds with Piper and sort of starts to encourage her to sort of question her loyalty to her brother, Andy, who starts to unravel. It starts to see things. Starts to unravel Laura's potential sinister agenda. I think slow bringing it back is a slow burner. Despite having that, I think it was right about an hour and 39 minutes, an hour and 40 minutes. And like Andy, we can clearly see that Laura's not the full shilling here. She's acting very suspiciously, especially when she's around Piper. And to her, she's like that sort of wonderful mother figure that Piper, and in a way, Andy does desire as well. And I think the script smartly is very smart here, and it holds back, not revealing she's not that mother that Piper and Andy sort of desire. So they sort of start to drip feed. And I think at the start we get to see this a very grainy VH video, which could easily have been a scene out of one of those, the franchise. It's now in Shudder, the VHS franchise. And we get to see some very either demonic or some witchcraft ritual actually happening here. And while things don't actually make much sense at first, Oliver's physical state, as we get to meet him, we gradually see him through the film, gradually gets worse, and it resembles someone in this little video at the beginning. So before I go on any more, what are your thoughts, Becky, on Bring Her Back?
I love this film. I think this is my top film of 2025 so far. I think it's going to be really hard to beat too, because like you say, I think how it shows grief in this film, it's very interesting. Like the monster in this film that we see, Oliver, who I suppose would be the monster because of how he acts and how we see him change, but really he's the least monstrous character in this entire film. Him and Piper have just done nothing. We see like with Andy, he has like a dark past with how he's treated Piper, Laura especially, the stuff that she does. And yet even Laura, that I suppose would be the antagonist, she's fueled by love. She's not a bad person. What she's doing is in blind grief of losing her daughter. And I think how the Philippous look at grief and look at death, it's horrifying, but it also maintains its sensitivity. I don't think there's any time where you just think like, oh, Laura's just evil and that's it. You can really empathize with what she's going through. I mean, myself, especially as a mother of daughters, there's bits in this film that just completely broke my heart. And I think you can, as much as what she's doing is horrible, you can understand where she's coming from. That if you were in that situation, you would do anything for that person that you lost. And I think that's where a lot of the horror of the film comes from, that it is so painfully relatable. And you see these characters in so much pain throughout. It's just, yeah, it's relentless. But that's not to say that it's not without its traditional scares as well. The
Yeah.
gore in this film, I will never look at melons or a table the same again. Like it makes my mouth hurt even thinking about it. There's some imagery in this film. Like I know I said it with weapons as well. There's some imagery that really stuck with me. This film really stuck with me. And the opposite way around as well. Like the final scene, without like spoiling it really. I went to a screening in London to see this, and I was in tears. My friend that was next to me was in tears. Someone on the other side of me was in tears. Someone behind me was in tears. Like, I think it's a real triumph. And it was the same with Talk to Me. The Philippines can really make you feel just a range of emotions through these films. Like, I had a feeling I'd probably end up crying at this because I did with Talk to Me, but I had no idea how like frightened I'd be at bits of this. There's humor in it as well. There's bits that are just really heartwarming. And then there's bits where you will be in tears. And yeah, I thought it was just fantastic.
Yeah, Laura definitely gaslights Andy here because some of the things she does to him is very unforgiving because if Andy did do things to her, he would probably, the two of them would be split up and he'd be probably even going to jail, you know. Yeah, you're completely right about melons. All I'll say, ladies and gentlemen, as I said in the previous trailer, there's some spoilers here, but I'm really spoiling here. What I'll say is if anyone's seen Evil Dead Rise, there is a scene with a certain tool you do get in the kitchen and in the Evil Dead that demon does something with that knife. It makes you Grinch. This is up there with that, but it includes melons obviously this time. It's very heartbreaking, and some of must be some of it parental because obviously in the first talk to her it was all about the main character with her mother,
Yeah.
and this one it's the father. And I think that it's like a bit of an obsession of looking for some sort of closure, because in the talk to her it's the hand, and she just wanted to get some sort of closure with her mum because she thinks it was left in a bad way. This it's obviously Laura with her daughter. She's trying to get some sort of closure as well, in this. And there's a lot of water in this, folks. There's a lot of water. And there's actually a pool where Laura's house is in the back garden, and it has no water in it. And I was sort of reading that bit in it. I think this is a bit of a metaphor as well, because it's a sign of emptiness that some
Yeah.
doesn't feel right here, And then obviously at the end of the film, as you said, there's a lot of water in it, and it's very heartbreaking when you get to see the ending as well. This is not a straightforward horror. It has jump scares, but it doesn't rely on the jump scares as well. As you mentioned, Becky, there's a lot of gory scenes in here, but I think it plays on the sort of it's a psychological film, plays on the mind, and it sort of plays on that sort of unnerving trauma that Piper and very much Andy suffer from. Whatever happened to Baby Jane is a reference point the brothers mentioned it inspired this film. So if anyone's ever seen that film, that's a psychological thriller. Gives you an idea of where this film goes. I love this film as well. What did you think of the cast? The casting in this?
Just honestly, again, phenomenal. I saw the casting and who was in it, I was dubious about Sally Hawkins in this. I think she's a phenomenal actress, but I did think like I'm not sure how much I'm going to like her in this sort of film because I sort of knew what kind of thing it was going to be with Seeing Talk to Me, but
Yeah.
I was so glad to be wrong. There is no one else that should have played Laura. She was terrifying, but like I say, I felt for her. Like I know everything that she did was evil, but I could really feel where she was coming from. And I don't think there is one dud performance in this. Like Sora Wong, Jonah Ren Phillips, Billy Barrett, they're all absolutely fantastic. Just so good. I don't know how that it's not all like competing performances because every single person is so strong and yet they work so well together that it doesn't feel like anyone's overshadowing anyone else. It's just I don't know how they did it, but especially for young actors as well to come into this and be like varying levels of experience to all be performing so well. It's just yeah, it's magic to watch.
Yeah, especially Sora Wong, who is generally visually impaired. So obviously she's trying to challenge herself in two sides. Obviously with her vision, and then obviously trying to portray herself. And I think she does it. Her performance is very authentic, And I think because they are at times, not just in horror and films in general, sometimes if there's a character that might have like a visual impairment or some sort of maybe an invisible disability, or some maybe they're on a chair or something, and they're not actually genuinely got that disability that they're playing, it can sometimes be crossed as very fake, very false, in that sense. But this was so genuine because she showed her naivety. She was very naive, but she was also very determined. Because throughout the film, we get to see scenes at the school that she goes to. There's like a sporting game she plays. You can see how determined she is. It's like with a ball, and it's all to do with the sounds, and she lives up to, she relies on her brother because they have a little thing that they do. It's a little grapefruit. It's grapefruit in it. A little saying they say
Yeah.
each other. It's like a trust, like a blanket, you know, the thing. And do you know Billy Barrett's actually English? He's actually,
I did actually because he was
yeah,
at our screening.
yeah,
Me and my friend, as we were coming out, managed to stop him to say, like, you did a great
yeah.
job. And I was actually surprised he was English.
Yeah, he's not new to. I think he's more new to film. He's done a lot of television. Forgive me, I don't have anything up to say what he's actually done. His performance is very heartfelt. You can see he was bottling up Andy was bottling up the trauma just to protect his sister, and you can see he was someone who suffered from sort of outbursts of aggression as well. But at the same time, like his sister, he showed his vulnerability, and at times he felt his pain when he was getting gaslight. as you said, with Sally Hawkins, she was superb. She's always portrayed as that sort of motherly figure, like in the Paddington films. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the film she done instead of the last Paddington Peru film. This is why she's done it. You can see deep down that behind the veil she was hiding some very unexpected, very desperate, and even some very nasty as well. I've said a lot of times the sound design and the score play a big part. To me, they're like characters at times. And Emma Bortogonin, forgive my pronunciation, her sound design was wonderful, very unnerving. Colonel Wilsiak's score sort of plays into sort of foreboding uneasiness and the dread of the film, and it really plays on it. Would you like to sort of give your sort of final thoughts, Becky, on what you thought of the film and what a rating you give it?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was definitely a five for me. And I don't feel like I'd be exaggerating at all to say, like, for me, this is a perfect movie. Like, I think cast, like I say, absolutely phenomenal. How it explores grief and how it looks at horror. While it may not be like the traditional horror people may expect, I think the horrors in this are a lot more potent and they've definitely stuck with me since. And not just the idea of losing a child or losing a parent, but I think how it looks like how vulnerable children in care can fall through the cracks,
Yeah,
how, children can go missing that it sort of touches on in it, how grief can go unchecked, how people can get away with these evil things so
yeah,
easily. I think is very scary. But then you bring in like the traditional horror elements that they so very obviously care about the Philippines. It really makes something that sticks with you long after it finishes. It looks fantastic, like how they use color in it, the imagery they use, like you say, the sound design. It's very claustrophobic at points.
yeah,
How it plays out, it never really feels like it loses steam. It is quite a slow burn, but it's always tense because there's always something awful going on, whether it's like the small abusive things that Sally does, or whether it is these horrible things that we see around Oliver that you don't quite know exactly where they're going to go. It always feels like something's ramping up to something. And whereas, like, as I say, with weapons, I didn't feel like it quite got there. With this, I feel like it went far above what I think it was going to do. And yeah, I was left devastated after watching this film, which is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to go into it and feel like I'd just been emotionally ruined. And it did that. It's
yeah.
definitely going to be one that I'll watch over and over again.
We've just realised the two films we're doing in this episode are the sophomore films, are the second films of both directors, the filmmakers
The
as well.
parents' worst nightmare double bill, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is. Yeah, it is. I think yeah, you're right. The Philippou brothers have struck gold again here. This is a disturbing piece of film, but it's also a very beautiful film because it plays on the emotions of the sort of human psyche, with the sort of loss. And the brothers are constantly challenging the viewers and ourselves to how much, much we can take. But also at the same time, this might not be everyone's cup of tea because it isn't your traditional horror. But as you said, it has the elements that traditional horror films will like, fans will like. It's bloody and it's also a very violent film. But it reminds us that grief, the best thing we can do is do the best we can and obviously move on. The person that we lose will always be with us, type of thing. So there you have it, folks. That is bring her back. Is it bring me back? I forget. Bring her back. We give it 5 star and I give it 4 star. That's your up, folks. That was your episode 48 of the Chronicle. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much, Becky, for joining us. Would you like to let the listeners know where they can find you on social media, and we might find some of your ratings online or on printed?
Yeah, of course. So you can find me over on Blue Sky and at X at BL Sayce Writes, or you can go straight to the source where I write. You can find me over at The People's Movies, Film Hounds Magazine, Movie Jaune, Metro, Digital Spy, and Fangoria, regularly writing about horror. And I've got a couple of physical release essays coming up, which I can't talk about just yet, but I'm sure if you go over to my social media pages, you'll see me posting about them.
And I hope you can let myself or Scott know, and we'll get them shared on our own social medias as well at the People's Movies. So we did have a blue sky. I think we've just forgotten about it as well. But over at Facebook, it's at the People's Movies. Instagram is at the People's Movies as well. I'm also on Paul Devine at TPM. You'll find me there at Instagram. There, I'll share a bit of the Chronicles and film, which is where the name, the Chronicle, for this podcast started. It's more like an archive for me, but at the Instagram, I do a bit of photography, art, whatever, and some of my reviews are there as well. On YouTube, it's at the People's Movies, and on X and Twitter, it's at the People's Movie. Obviously, you can find the Chronicle over at some of the popular sites for you to get you download your favourite podcasts. We're finally on Apple Podcasts. You can also find us over at Amazon Music, YouTube, Spotify, and at Podbean. Podbean is the main host for this podcast. If you are listening to this podcast over at the People's Movies, I will do the link just below, the details for the links just down below there as well. If you do go to Podbean, you will find some of the other social media places and podcast sites that you'll find us at. Sometimes we all continue to chat over at the Chronicle Take 2. One way you can find out is on social media and also at the People's Movies for the future episodes as well. You can sign up for the email newsletter over at the People's Movies. Just let you know, we're actually updating our actual newsletter. Watch out on social media for that, or a post that we will post at the People's Movies. We're up doing it a little bit, but at the moment, we're doing it the old way. Is there? You can also show the support for the Chronicle and the People's Movies with Buy Me a Coffee and at PayPal. The links are over at the People's Movies. If you're listening to this podcast on one of those websites, please do give us a little rating. It does help the algorithm. Please do share it on social media as well. We are a small podcast. We are a small website, even though we are a long-running one. Becci, thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully we'll get you on a future episode, be it horror or not horror. And for you viewers, thank you very much for listening to us. Until the next time, enjoy the movies.